You want to know what's a fun fight? It's coming up this weekend. Santos versus Jamahal. That's a fun fight. And I will tell you, I remember the first time I ever saw Jamahal Hill. I don't know if it would be possible for me to have liked him more. I liked his walkout. I liked his fight. I liked how he left. He has an aura about him. There's a confidence that he exudes. He lost the fight to Paul Craig, and he looked cool doing it. Do you guys remember that? Where they at? They were out in Georgia, I think, with the elbow and the arm broke, and he was completely calm. He never went into shock. Any human being goes into shock in that moment. Then you get a hold of yourself. He was cool the whole time. I mean, right? He's just one of those guys. Like, he's interesting. And when you have those real cool hand loot customers where you can't upset them, including if you break their arm, like, there's something about that. How do you approach it? How do you get in this guy's head? Is there any point in talking trash to him? Not that that's what Thiago does anyway. Would there be any point? He's a very interesting guy. Not to mention he's long. Not to mention he's on the come up. Getting ready to do a main event over a former #1 contender. Now, speaking of the contender, let's take a look at him. Whatever you see from Thiago this weekend is going to be better than Jon Jones is. And we don't know where Jon's at, right? Jon's been out for 2 years. Jon left his gym and he's catching workouts in Arizona and he's going to go to this weight class, and it's just one of these things. The Thiago who fought Jon, it was a split decision. I was there that night. If I was to guess, they were going to give it to Jon, but that was just a courage issue. If there was ever a night you could have taken the belt off of Jon, it was that night. The rounds that Jon won, he won decisively. The rounds that Thiago won, he barely won them. But if you go on a 10-9, I thought it was 3-2. So did one of the judges. I remember Brett Okamoto going on ESPN and saying that to Dana. And Dana said, well, that's why you're not a judge, right? I mean, it's one of those things. It just depends what you're looking at. My only point here isn't to say Thiago should have beaten Jon Jones. That's how good Thiago is. The mere fact that one licensed judge, or even myself, or even Brett Okamoto, thought that he had just beaten Jon Jones. I mean, come on, you're saying something very special about a guy. Now, I saw Thiago that night. I saw him as I was leaving the arena. He was in the back. So the audience all comes in through these doors, and you got a back area where the trucks are, where the boys pull in. He was on a gurney getting lifted into an ambulance, and I yelled to him in the dark. Never met him, but I was so appreciative of what he just did. I was so appreciative, and my respect for him had changed, so I yelled over to him, thank you for the great fight. Get better, and he kind of gave me a thumbs up. I share that because he then had an injury, right? It took him about 8 months to get back in there, and he's had mixed reviews since then. But either way, we know that whatever he does Saturday, is going to be better and more advanced, more prepared, more current than Jon Jones. We know that because he's been busy, regardless of the energy. He's been in there with the top guys, regardless of the outcome. He's still doing main events. He's still grappling well. He's still stopping guys. He deals with the nerves. He's in good shape. We know all of these things, right? For sure, just based on logic, whatever he does this weekend is going to be ahead of where Jon Jones is. Not a damn word that I just said is true. It makes sense. It should be. Everything I just said should be true. It's not. It's just not. Jon Jones was a sparring partner. Put this in perspective with you guys, okay? Now, whatever happens in the practice room, even if I'm privy to it, can't speak about it. You just can't. Just can't. And if you do, it's how you're not invited to watch those workouts ever again, or it's how you're not told what happened in those workouts again. I'll just share this. Jon Jones went to Arizona, Yuri Prochazka flew in, and those guys trained together. A lot. Prochazka, who is now the champion of the world, said in an interview over the weekend that in his opinion, the greatest fighter in the world is Jon Jones. So he told us how those workouts went. Jon didn't. Jon followed the code. Jon was polite. Prochazka just let us know Prochazka's the champion of the world. Prochazka can beat everybody. That's what the belt represents. And in an interview over the weekend, he put over Jon. How does that happen? Because there are some guys, I caught myself, when I was covering Jon Jones fights, I caught myself having conversation and almost going on to set and doing this on TV with ESPN. I almost explained Jon's greatness and his effectiveness and his dominance. I almost explained it as though he was chosen by God, that there was a magic wand waved over him. I caught myself when I realized no, he's not. I thought it. Truly. There was just no other explanation. He's just the and you meet guys like that, like they're just Midas, everything they touch turns to gold, everything goes right for these guys. It's like they're chosen. It's like they have a star. They have a special, somebody's watching over them. And this was almost my explanation of watching Jon and the success and watching him progress and watching him get better. He was always better than the competition. On day one, he was better. That was a talent. That was a rare talent. But then he showed he was tougher. I talked about this match with Thiago. Whether I want to say that I thought that Thiago beat him or not, that was a tough man contest. The better fighter is established in the first 5 minutes. After the first 5 minutes, we're now in a tough guy contest. And every time Jon has had his back put to the wall where he can quit and cave, whether it's giving Vitor the armbar, or it's not coming back in the 5th round against Reyes, or it's not coming back halfway through the 4th round against Gustafsson the first time, whatever it is, whenever he's tested, are you tough or not? Which should be no. It truly should. If you go on logic, toughness and conditioning are the same thing. There is nothing at how much pain you can take. No, how long can you go in comparison to the opponent? It's all toughness is. So if you got a guy that's playing, if you got a guy that's if you got a guy that's in the practice room 3 days a week, versus people that are fully committed to it and they're in there twice a day, every day, plus one on Saturday. I mean, right? It's very different. Every time Jon has been challenged on his toughness, he's passed. I can tell you that logic and history and everybody else, yourself included, that isn't going to work out for it. Don't do that. But Jon has been breaking rules and doing things that no other man can do from the time he got here. Becoming the youngest #1 contender of all time, which he parlayed into becoming the youngest champion of all time. No other man has done it, including since. That was a long time ago. It was a decade ago. He still holds that record. Both of them. Both of them, not just champion. He was also the youngest #1 contender. Nobody's caught him. It's a very interesting thing. And I think the excitement for the return of Jon Jones, I think we're getting there. I started to get there a couple of months ago. And I've been in on this whole experiment, the whole Instagram, bring us along, show us how he's training, get up to 240. I've been along the ride and interested the whole time. I got a little wind taken out of my sails when I found out it can't be Jon versus Francis. That, of course, was the dream match. Little wind got taken out of myself, but then you find Stipe. And it's just one of these things where when do we start to get excited? When is the moment? When you go, okay, boom, Jon's coming back. When? And whether you want to hate on Jon and cheer against him or you want to get behind him and cheer for him, either way, there's an excitement, right? It doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. You're a fan. You can do whatever you want. And I feel like we're getting closer. But I really will watch Santos versus Jamahal. I truly will watch that. And I will look at Santos' performance, not the outcome. I know Jamahal can beat Santos. I know Santos can beat Jamahal. That's between those guys. But I'm talking about the performance. And I will be comparing that logically to where we can expect Jon to be. And I'm going to remember it. And when we see Jon, I'm going to get reminded that I'm wrong.